If your surname is on this list, you are not just Scandinavian by heritage. You're carrying the name of a world. Jarls, longships, burning halls. 10 names. Each belong to a man who ruled, raided, or refused to kneel. And most people who carry them today were never told what the name did before it reached them. Stay until number 1, because that name was a death sentence in its own country, and the man who bore it crossed an ocean and never came home. These names didn't survive in a museum, they survived in you. Number 10, Gormson. Son of Gorm, a name scholars still argue over. The oldest guess splits it in two, God and serpent. The god snake. It belonged to the man the Danish royal line begins with, Gorm the Old, the last Danish king to rule openly as a pagan. His son raised a stone at Jelling, the one historians now call Denmark's birth certificate, boasting that he'd won all Denmark and turned the Danes to Christ. So the name sits on the exact seam where the old gods were legislated out of existence, and that son was Harold Bluetooth. 1,000 years later, an engineer needed a name for a new wireless technology, and reached back and took his. Every time your phone connects to anything, it does it in the name of a dead Viking king. From a name hiding in your pocket to one that ruled the whole North Sea. Number 9, Knutsson, son of Knut. And Knut means knot, the thing that binds. It fit him. Knut the Great tied 3 kingdoms together. England, Denmark, Norway, a North Sea empire ruled from an English throne. Then he died, and the knot slipped. Within a decade, the empire was gone. By 1066, the dynasty had been wiped clean from history. The name that once meant a king now sits on mailboxes across the American Midwest. Knutsson, Kudson. An empire shrunk to a farm name and still standing. But the throne he sat on was built by his father, a man remembered for his beard and his brutality. Number 8, Swinson, son of Svein. And here the name turns on itself, because Svein didn't mean lord, or ruler, or king. It meant boy, servant. That was the name of Sweyn Forkbeard, and in 1013 the servant took England. He drove out its king and sat where kings sat. Today it's Svensson, Swanson, Swinson, one of the most ordinary names in the Scandinavian world, worn by millions who never knew it once meant a king who began as nobody. From a name that seized a crown to men who never wore one, but decided who did. Number 7, Hawinson, son of Håkon, highborn son. And it fit them, the jarls of Lade, who ruled Norway for generations without ever calling themselves king. The greatest was Håkon Jarl, the last man of the old world. A Christian king came for the country, and he held to the old gods and would not let go. The sagas gave him a bloodline running all the way back to Odin. It didn't save him. In 995, he died hiding in a pigsty, betrayed and killed by his own slave, as the new faith closed over Norway like water. That's the name. Men who chose the old gods over survival carried west centuries later by farmers who still half remembered the old ways. If this is landing for you, and I'll tell you now, number 1 is the one that stays with you. Take 5 seconds to like and subscribe. 4 names left, and they only get heavier. Let's keep going. But one of these names reached a shore no Viking was ever meant to find, 1,000 years too early. Number 6, Ericson, son of Eric, Eirikur, the one ruler, the only ruler. It got the first man who mattered thrown out of his own country, Eric the Red, outlawed from Iceland, who sailed west because he wasn't allowed to stay. His son sailed further. Around the year 1000, Leif Ericson stepped onto the coast of North America, 5 centuries before Columbus. And then 800 years later, the same name did it again. As the Ericsons of the Great Migration crossed the ocean, their name had already crossed once. It's the only name here that reached America twice. but the most famous Viking name of all may belong to a man who never existed. Number 5. Bjornson, son of Bjorn, the bear. If you've watched anything about Vikings, you know it. Bjorn Ironside, the warrior. The whole idea seems to hang on. Founder of an old Swedish royal line. Except here the ground gives way. Historians today aren't sure Bjorn Ironside ever lived. The dynasty named for him got that name from antiquarians in the 1700s, who cracked open a burial mound and guessed. The most Viking name on this list is the one history can least prove, and it doesn't make the name mean less. These names were never DNA. They were never proof of a bloodline. They carry a story, and the story is real even where the man dissolves into legend. History is surer about a wolf than it ever was about that bear. Number 4. Olson, son of Ulf, the wolf. Loyalty and menace in one short word. Ulf Jarl was brother-in-law to Knut himself, and in 1026, inside a church at Roskilde, the king had him killed, cut down at the altar, on holy ground, where blood was never meant to fall. It should have ended the name there. It didn't. His son founded the Ericson line, which ruled Denmark for centuries, its blood running toward the crown that stands there today. A royal house, grown out of a murder on a church floor. Some names carry a single death. The next one carried a banner, and the banner killed whoever raised it. Number 3. Sigurson, son of Sigurd, victory, and the one who guards it. The name carried a terrible gift. Sigurd the Stout of Orkney owned a raven banner, and the saga says it was woven with a curse, victory to the army that followed it, death to the man who held it up. In 1014, at Clontarf, no one would carry it, so he carried it himself, and he died under it. That's the name in one image, the one who holds the standard for everyone else, and pays for it alone. It crossed to America as Sigurdsson, Sigurson, sometimes Seaward, worn by people who never knew what it once asked of the man who carried it. The last true Viking king died the same way, reaching for a throne that was never his. Number 2, Haroldson, son of Harold, army ruler. 2 men wearing that name hold the whole Viking age between them. Harold Fairhair opened it, hammering Norway into a single kingdom and driving out everyone who wouldn't bend. Harold Hardrada, the hard ruler, closed it, falling at Stamford Bridge in the autumn of 1066, days before Hastings, in the battle history marks as the end of the Viking world. The name stood at the birth and the death of an age, and it was carried west in the end by the descendants of the very men Fairhair cast out. Because Fairhair's rise is exactly where the last story begins, with the man he turned into a criminal. Number 1, Ralphson, son of Rolf, Rolfer, famous wolf. They called him Gungu Rolfer, Rolf the Walker, because no horse could carry his weight, and Harold Fairhair outlawed him. Overnight, his birthright became the mark of a wanted man in his own country. So he did what your ancestors would one day do. He crossed the water, and the name changed as he went. Rolfer became Rollo, Rollo became Rue. In 911 he founded Normandy, and the saga writers trace the whole line down from him to a descendant named William, who crossed another sea in 1066 and remade England. The shadow of this outlawed Norseman sits inside the very language you're hearing right now. He is the first Scandinavian immigrant, cast out, ocean-crossed, his name rewritten in a new land. That is your family's story, 500 years early, and the spelling you carry today, however worn down, is just the shape your name took to survive the crossing. It's still yours. They're all gone now. The halls, the yarls, the kingdoms, the long ships hauled up on the shingle. But the names didn't go with them. Somewhere tonight, at a kitchen table in Minnesota or Alberta, or a suburb of Melbourne, someone is looking down at an old passenger list and finding their own surname spelled 2 different ways in the same column, and slowly understanding that the spelling they were born with is just the one that made it across. If your surname is on this list, it was never only an entry on a form. It was a decision. Someone kept it or bent it just enough to survive and handed it forward down to you. A name on the back of an old photograph in handwriting no one living can quite read anymore, and still unmistakably yours. So drop your surname in the comments below. I want to know which name you carry, and which of these 10 hit closest to home, which one you felt before you understood why. If this opened something up in you, subscribe. There's more where it came from.